Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of ScaleUp Radio, the podcast inspired by the entrepreneurial scale-up system and designed to make navigating our scale-up journeys that little bit easier by learning from others' experiences. I'm Kevin Brent, and this week on the show, I'm joined by Masha Epshtein, who is the CEO of Lon. And Masha shares her incredible journey from fleeing Ukraine to innovating in London's tech scene. Discover how Masha turned a challenge into an opportunity by creating a groundbreaking cable management solution. She's invested $100K so far and is gearing up for a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign. And despite facing all sorts of obstacles like adapting to a new business environment in a totally new country and developing a physical product, Masha's story is a real testament to the power of perseverance and the passion of entrepreneurism. Now, make sure that you don't miss any future episodes like this one with Masha by subscribing to ScaleUp Radio wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And you can also nominate a guest for ScaleUp Radio if you know someone with an interesting scale-up story. And you can find out how in the show notes below. For now, listen on and get ready for a dose of inspiration and invaluable advice for entrepreneurs on making our vision a reality, no matter what the hurdles. Don't miss this compelling conversation on turning adversity into the beginnings of real success. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted today to be joined by Masha Epshtein. So, Masha, brilliant to have you on, and you're the CEO of Lon. So, welcome.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So, tell us about Lon. What's that all about? There's not too many clues there. So what's it all about?
So I don't know, you probably are sitting in front of your desk and in front of your workspace. So imagine a desk where everything charges and connects at lightning speed, but with zero cable clutter.
Yeah.
So our connectivity station makes that dream a reality. So Lon Hub, our flagship product, it's a connectivity powerhouse professionals dream about, because it's a package of life of speed, style, and simplicity.
Yes, and I had a quick look earlier, and you talk about a love story between design and connectivity.
Yes. That's the so my background is in design, and I was thinking that our life is so much about design. We think so much about how things look, and it makes us feel better. It can make us feel worse and better as well. And this field of connectivity cables, somehow design never touched that field because it's just ugly. And then that's why I was thinking maybe I can suggest something to the market.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, I certainly recognise the problem. I'm sat here. It's a good job you can't see my desk, and that we're on, and also that it's a podcast rather than the video, because my desk is not only cluttered with wires and underneath the desk as well, but I've got paper everywhere. It's a complete mess. But then that's just me. so good. So I recognise the problem. What stage are you at with the business?
So we are finalizing the product. Bringing the product to the market is a really complicated process.
Yeah.
We've been through like 1 million of prototypes, and now we are on this final stage. We won a really major worldwide design award, a Red Dot Design Award. We signed an agreement with Intel to use the Thunderbolt technology.
Oh.
So now we are finalizing the product. We are going through certification, and we are launching now our crowdfunding campaign, Kickstarter campaign, in March.
Fantastic. So by the time this episode goes out, then people should be able to look you up
yes.
on that.
We now in the active phase of testing, preparing for launch. So yeah, that's where we are.
Fantastic. And how are you going to go to market? What's the route to market?
So there are different types of different routes, of course. So we are thinking about B2B and B2C separately. So for B2C, our first step will be this crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
And for B2B, I'm focusing on direct sales. in London, because I'm based in London. So, and the product is very visual. We can bring it to the office and show the difference it makes. It's so obvious what kind of difference it makes.
Yeah.
And I want to get that feedback personally. So B2B, it's going to be like mostly London focused offices.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your journey as to what got you started. What you spotted the problem, but what got you to that point?
So the journey was, I would say, tricky, not smooth for sure. So I'm Ukrainian actually.
Yeah.
So I left the country without any preparation. I left after the war with my two sons.
Right.
I was an entrepreneur all my life. I had different businesses in Ukraine. I actually was not going to leave, but things happened unexpectedly, and we just left in the early March 2022. And then I started thinking, what were we gonna do actually after crossing the border? So it was a long journey through Romania, France, Switzerland, and then we ended up here in the UK. So I started working for an interior design company.
Okay.
But I was thinking, how can I start something again, some kind of entrepreneurial journey? So I was fitting out office in London, and there was this problem with this cable mess, and my client said, "Can you figure this out? Do something with this." And then I started talking with subcontractors, with what is in the market, and then how I figured out that there is a gap actually, because there is nothing like that in the market. Of course, you can get all the functionality. You can buy, docking station, chargers, power extenders, hubs, put it on your desk, and then you can get all the connectivity and charging, but you'll end up having all this like tons of cable on the desk and under the desk. Or you can order bespoke desks, which look nice, of course, but they're really expensive. And you have to throw away everything you had in your office, to put these other desks. So that's when I thought that probably I can suggest something. I can find a solution to that. So that's how it all happened.
Great. So what have been some of the challenges that you've had to face then between now and then? So we're 2 years on, and yes, and you hinted right at the very beginning that it's been a bit challenging. So take us through.
I don't know where to begin even. So many challenges, really.
So where did you start then? Let's take us through what were some of the key things you had to get started with.
I would say, so first, of course, being like a complete stranger in this environment, complete lack of network, like absence, not lack, like absence of network. Completely different legal landscape, business landscape, actually quite a different, not like completely different culture, but quite different.
Mm-hmm.
Culture of communication, between people, language barrier.
Yeah.
So all these things they are huge actually when you face them.
Yes, I mean, you it's a hard enough, it's a significantly difficult thing to do in your native country, in your own country. You've got all of that plus all of the other challenges of not having been born here. So yeah, I can well imagine.
And also like a mental, I would say, struggle, because it was not like a prepared immigration or something. I was forced, and then all this hesitation, whether it was a right choice, what was the right thing to do, was it the right thing to do? All these things, it's a lot. And then from business point of view, there are all this like standard challenges of finding a way to finance it, figuring a way how to find the people to work with. This is like really, in all my previous experience, it was all the time more or less using my network. I could rely on people I worked with before.
Yes.
I know what I can expect. I knew what I could expect from them. And here, like it's like a blank sheet of paper, like nothing is here. So, and then the process, I didn't have the experience of building like a physical electronical device before. And there are like 1 billion gazillion of problems there. For example, certification. It's like such a strict and complicated field.
Yeah.
We have to meet so many requirements. So, yeah, it's hard to tell what is not a challenge here.
So I imagine because you're still in the midst of it, it's probably a little bit difficult to remember some of the key things, but because you've just come so far in such a short period of time. But let's go right back. You've seen the problem, you've decided, I think there's something we can do here. What did you do next? How did you get moving? How did you get started?
So actually, we started working with my older son.
Okay.
We bought a 3D printer and we built a first prototype just ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
We bought components. We bought other, hubs and chargers. Took it apart, put it together in different order. Printed the plastic casing on 3D printer to to prove the concept that it might work.
Okay.
So first it was a 3D model.
Yeah.
Like really basic one, which we could do by ourselves.
Yeah.
Then printing that first prototype. Then building like a good looking 3D model so I can prepare a pitch. I can explain to investors or subcontractors or any other people what we're talking about.
So yes, great. So you got prototype sorted. How did you decide who to go to? How did you know what money you needed, who you should approach? When I was in that situation, actually, I am still there. I have no way to stop. Like I have only the way forward. So I just spoke to everyone. Like I tried to reach literally everyone I could. Okay.
And then I started to gather information, pieces, tiny pieces, one from there, one from here. So that's how it all worked.
All right. And so what was your key, what was the key thing you needed once you'd got the design sorted and you were that's your expertise, your background, you got the design sorted, got your prototype there. What was the key thing you needed? Was it funding that you needed? Was it someone to make it? What was the thing you needed?
Yes. So first, I invested some of my money. Then I had to find some more money to start working with other people because I needed help from engineers.
Okay.
Even though a big chunk of that work was taken over by my son.
Right.
So yeah, and then it was just we had quite a painful process because we had so many ideas, like ideal product, which we had to change a lot during this journey. And that was painful. Right. We had to reviews from implementing some really, I still believe, we have really brilliant ideas how to components or additional functionality for this device. But then on the way, I would say this is like a really hard decision. We had to eliminate this process to something more simple.
And what was the reason behind that?
Because it takes so long. Right. This is just this is just like really my real pain. It takes so long to get to. I struggle because I feel like it felt like it was almost there, but still something didn't work, and then we had to focus on something that we could accomplish. And I still believe we can come back to those ideas and still implement them. But for the first, I spoke to so many people, and I'm really not an expert. I don't know what's the right thing to do. And I heard different advices. And one of the advice was to focus on raising money and focus on developing ideal product. Then not trying to sell it before, first job is to raise money. Second job is to develop really professionally, with professional supply chain, with professional manufacturing process, completely ideal product, and then go to market. So I didn't follow that path.
Right.
I don't know, it might be a mistake, but we decided to go with trying and go sooner with something that we can accomplish now.
Yeah. So your MVP, as people will call it, the minimum viable product, so that you've got something that you can establish some level of traction with and demonstrate the need. Yeah.
So that's what we are doing now. We already started testing our ads for a crowdfunding campaign, and results are quite good.
Okay, so you're already out there advertising with the messaging that you'll go to market with.
Yeah.
Great, good. So so that's a key. I guess that's a key lesson that you've learned along the way is the need to keep it realistic, I suppose.
I can't say that this is like a lesson. I still don't know whether it's the right decision or not.
Yeah.
People as I told, I spoke to everyone I could, and people with experience, much bigger experience than mine.
Yeah.
People have different opinions, and they are very certain and sure that they know what's right, what's wrong.
Oh yes.
Not like that. I don't know. I'm just trying. I try to use my intuition maybe, and just risk maybe. How, all my previous entrepreneurial experience says that you just can't avoid risking. You have to take some risk.
Yeah.
And it risk in any case. If I decide to stop trying to move to get product to the market now, it is still a risk, because I can't. It might be really tricky to find investment, because it needs a significant funds to get through all the processes.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the beauty of entrepreneurship? Really, is that there's no right answer. There's no one single right answer, and everybody's got their opinion. But at the end of the day, we have to make the decision as to what we think is the right way for us to go forward. Yes, we take advice, but we have to make what's right, the decision that's right for us, don't we? Based on the best information we have at the time.
Yeah. Yes, completely. And it's interesting that I feel like people are very sure in their opinions. I don't know. I am not that sure. I'm not that sure of their opinions and in mine as well.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to be sure of your opinion when you're not the one that actually has to follow it through. If you're the one that has to do it, then you see all of the pitfalls as well, don't you? And
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So, how much money have you had to raise so far, do you think? What's it cost you to get here?
So it cost me £100,000.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hope to get some traction through crowdfunding. And then I will have to raise more money, but I will have the proven traction.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be, better valuation, and it's going to be easier.
Yeah. And what are you looking? So the crowdfunding is aiming to do a couple of things. One is to raise some money, and the other is to demonstrate that there's some traction there, that people
there is demand for there is a product market fit. Yes.
So what will count as success for you then with the crowdfunding round?
So, it's still all a bit, vague. We are forming that, but I'm hoping to raise through crowdfunding. So I'm not raising money. I'm not giving away equity. So this is the Kickstarter. So people will just place pre-orders.
Yes.
So I'm hoping to get 400,000 through that.
Okay.
But let's see how it all goes.
And how have you come about assessing what the right price is for the price point for the product?
So this is a really tricky question, like extremely tricky, because people have this perception that this should cost less. Even though, so for example, for crowdfunding, we don't have actually margin there, we just so because I have to give discounts there, so it's just really expensive product because it's really complicated electronics and this Thunderbolt docking station. People just like misperceive, and this is one of the challenge that we are going to face. We are facing now, how to deliver that message, how to explain that it can't cost less actually.
Yeah.
So because people somehow perceive that, now with the discount on crowdfunding, it's gonna cost for $399, and there is like some percentage where people say how power extender can cost that much money.
Yeah.
So people somehow feel that this is something really cheap, and this is ridiculous to charge that much. But actually, really, really, the cost of the device is really high. The PCB, the main PCB, is really expensive. Only one PCB cost $120.
Okay.
Not talking about all the other stuff, all the other hubs, wireless charger, power delivery unit, aluminum casing, which looks just nice.
Yeah.
So all the wires and everything. So there are so many other things, and people there is some idea that it should cost £50 or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess if people don't understand fully what it is, then they'll compare it with the wrong thing. They'll compare it with something you can buy at IKEA, maybe, that's got, you can stick a couple of plugs in it and you can stick a USB thing in it. But it's doing a lot more than that, from my understanding.
Yes, it's doing a lot more, and it actually it's impossible to do it cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. And how are you going about manufacturing then? At the minute, you've got your son has helped you, did the prototype and whatever else. But when you're making in a slightly larger volume, what's happening? How are you doing that?
So we are having here in the UK our subcontractor. So first we were going from manufacturing everything here, just because there was this idea that people are tired of buying things from China or whatever, and they are ready to pay more for UK manufacturing. But then they say that they are ready to pay more until there is a time to pay,
Yeah.
And then they go actually, we can also buy this from China. So now we are trying to reduce costs. So we still manufacture, some of it is manufactured here. Casing, aluminium, all this stuff is manufactured here. Some of the electronics is bought from Taiwan, and some is bought from European companies. And It is assembled here. So we have our early customers already in London. So it's all already in the process. This is like early adopters. We've getting feedback, and so at the moment it is still made in the UK. But we are thinking that probably we will have to move from depending on how the process, how the crowdfunding campaign, how feedback goes. If we really need to lower the price more, we will move more to China.
Right. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. With we all like to talk about being sustainable and local and all of those things, but if it hurts us in the pocket at the end of the day, then we're maybe not so likely to do it. And do you anticipate that as your units, as your volumes increase, that you'll significantly be able to reduce the price, or is it?
Yes, of course, I anticipate it, but at the moment, it will require some significant investment in molding, in establishing manufacturing. But now I'm not at that point.
Okay. What have you been able to do about protecting the intellectual property for it?
So we are in the process of applying for IP.
Yeah.
We have several ideas implemented there, so we are working on that as well.
And is that a full patent, or is it a design patent? What sort of protection?
Full patent.
Yeah, very good. Good. So you come a long way, overcome a lot of challenges. What if you were to look back? What would you do differently?
Oh, I don't know. It's a tricky path. I would be more realistic, that's for sure. So I had some ideas that I will be able to do it much quicker. And then seeing that it's not happening is really painful.
Yeah. Okay. And
I thought, I had in my previous life, I had this, I started to my first business. I started when I was, 18, and then it was like a list of different businesses. And by the time, before the war started, I had like an established life.
Yeah.
Already everything is on track, and it might be a bit boring, but it's quite comfortable, I would say.
Yeah.
And I thought that I lost this ability to take risks, because it's hard to go through all of that. So, and then I've been just put into these circumstances when I had to take all these risks, and it is still hard, and I still in the middle of this process.
Yeah. And how are you how are you funding yourself? How are you living?
Well, I'm doing some other stuff, and when I have I have spare time, I do something else. I try to to juggle all these issues.
So what's keeping you going then? Because this is tough. So what's driving Masha forwards? What is it that's the fire in your belly that's getting this going?
I really want to prove, myself or the world. I don't know to whom, not to someone specific. I want to prove that I can get back on my feet even after what happened to me. I just really want that.
Yeah, well, and certainly would love to see you succeed. And how have you gone about estimating the size of the market, the potential? what's
So I have tons of information about that, because I had to pitch a lot.
Yeah.
And the question, so there are reports and studies about, for example, so we don't have direct competitors. It's like a combination of functionality of different devices which are now on the market. So I would say that our closest competitor is Thunderbolt docking station. And there are reports about the size of Thunderbolt 4 docking stations. And the market is growing. So there is a demand for high-speed connectivity first. And then in terms of like an extended product line, because we have a lot of ideas about the next products They can be, for homes, more sophisticated devices for offices. So in general, there are researches about how much people spend annually on charging and connectivity, and it's quite a significant also amount, because people lose chargers, and they just like all the small things, then they buy things and then forget. That's also where the problem of the pricing comes from with our device, because people, they can buy docking station last year, and then a couple of chargers last month, and then power extender 5 years ago, and they don't add all these things together.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they spend a significant amount, but actually they do. So this is like the different approaches of evaluating the market.
So you mentioned a bit, about putting decks together and lots of pitches. So what have you learned about going through the pitching process?
I learned that you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not quite sure that I actually learned. I know I can say it, but it's hard to implement when it comes to actual your feelings.
Yeah. And what is it that they're saying to you, that the advice that you're getting? What sort of things are you taking away from some of these pitches?
Different. So a lot of feedback. I try to get that to kind of digest what I get back. So that's why I decided to actually try and get that an MVP to market, and then go to and try and raise money, because it's gonna put me in better position, rather than putting tons of efforts into that now.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And what's the big dream? Where do you hope to get the business?
Oh, I really want this to work out. I want, if you ask me about my big dream, so my dream is that every desk in the world has my hub, whether it's at home, so it can be like a variation for homes, whether it's a small office, whether it's a big, huge company. They can find the product in our product line for any needs, and the cable mess is solved forever. And people are just enjoying using this device, this seamless, smooth connectivity and workflow. And actually, there are also, there are studies showing that tidy desk actually improves productivity and creativity in workers, in employees. So people are getting more creative and more productive and more effective using my devices.
Excellent. So the big next step for you then is the crowdfunding. And so what's the step after that?
So that's so this is at the same time, I'm already working on this B2B sales here in London, talking to people, pitching to clients. And then with having this, depending on how it goes, this crowdfunding thing, whether we just go and sell online like an e-commerce, or I use it as a proof of market, and raise more money and establish like better process for everything.
Good. And who's working with you? Is it you and your son still? Have you got other advisors? Who's in the team?
Yes, I have like a range of people who helps me with engineering, industrial design, finance, patenting, all these things.
Great. So if you were to advise somebody else that's come up with a novel idea, what key piece of advice would you give them?
I think if you really, really believe in that, you should just go for it. It's gonna be a lot of challenges, and you'll find every day it's gonna be something unexpected for you.
Yeah.
But just if you really believe, you should just try.
Good. And if you, knowing what you know now, if you were to start this journey again, would you start it?
I think I would.
Yeah. So even though it's been really tough, you're still absolutely passionate about it, and you
Yes,
believe.
I really believe that this is a really good idea, and it can really help people. It's just a useful device. I genuinely think so.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Well, I certainly wish you all the very best in your next stage, and I'll ask you in a minute how people can find out more and how maybe they can get in touch with you from the crowdfunding bit. But for now, are you okay for a couple of quick fire questions as we close?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So one of those, which I've almost asked already, but if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Much younger, or how much younger?
Yeah, could be. I mean, maybe even going back to, you mentioned 18 when you set up your first business.
I would advise myself spend more time on education, learning languages, and learning. Just education is really, really helpful and good.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Do you are there any learning resources that you would recommend then? Any books or podcasts or things that have helped you?
So now what I'm learning now, what I need is definitely different types of software which I never used. It just, I don't know whether there are books or something. I just find what's good for CRM, or how to build sites, or how to do automation for emails. Or so I'm not doing actually engineering myself, but for design. So this kind of like to know more in terms of software and languages. Of course, now I feel more confident in English, but still, it's not my native language. And it would be so nice to speak other languages, really.
Well, I can absolutely. Your English is very good, and yeah, certainly a lot better than my Ukrainian. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what are there any apps that you found particularly useful? Apps or bits of software?
Tons of them, starting from MailChimp and WordPress and all these things.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And has anybody who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
I don't know myself.
Yeah, well, that's fine. And in terms of your route to market, then, so the crowdfunding, then, how are you raising interest? Where you say you've had some success with the ads? Where are you putting those? How are you generating the interest?
So we are just testing different types of ads, and there are quite a good results in terms of cost per lead, cost per reservation. So we were testing different types of visuals. We used static pictures, 3D animation, user-generated content, like different types. And then now we are on the stage of testing different headlines, but already like cost per lead, cost per click, cost per reservation is quite good. And
is this Facebook or other medium? What's
so at the moment we are testing only on Facebook, right? But then when we figure out what actually works the best, then we will spread it and using different platforms.
Brilliant. So Masha, if people would like to get hold of you or find out more about Lon or the crowdfunding, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I just can leave our website, through which you can reserve, and then there is a link for crowdfunding landing page, which I also can share. I will be really happy for all of you to look at it and reserve it.
And is that what is the website? Is that Lon?
Lon.ltd.
Lon.ltd.
And then landing page is get.lon.ltd. I can share it somewhere, maybe.
Yes, if you let me know afterwards, and we'll put it in the show notes, and that would be great. So, Masha, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today. And may I personally wish you all the very best in the next stages of your journey.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. That was a real pleasure. You know, founders love talking about their businesses, so this is always nice.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.